Alright guys, we're going to continue with our quadratic functions unit. What is a quadratic? We know a polynomial expression in which the highest degree of the variable is 2 is a quadratic. Okay, so this is standard form, highest to lowest, and if you remember it's ax squared plus bx plus c. Here our a is 1 because the number in front of x squared is 1. Our b is 6 and our c is 5. Okay, so this is what we've been doing for a couple of days now, talking about. So quadratic functions can be factored just like the polynomials that we were doing. How to factor quadratic functions by grouping. So if you remember with grouping, we need 4 terms. In this one, we only have 3, so we're going to have to get it to have 4. So the step 1, you're going to take A and multiply it times C. A times C. Think of two numbers that multiply to give you that number, but still add back together to give you B. So when they multiply, it's going to be that number, but when I add them, I'm going to get my B. Okay, you're going to split your B term into 2 terms. It should say 2 and not toe. Wahoo! Now we have 4 terms and we can group. So it'll be just like we did yesterday. Use the grouping method to follow. So if we're looking at this one, our A is 1 and our C is 5. So we're going to do A times C on the top. 1 times 5 is 5. And then on the bottom, I'm going to try to add to get B. So what numbers will multiply and give me 5, but add to give me 6? 1 and 5. All right. So now I'm going to leave my first term alone. I'm going to leave my last term alone. And the middle term is going to split to these 2 terms. So that's going to become 1x plus 5x. So that's going to be my middle term. And remember, we don't put a 1 in front of the x there. Okay? Now we have 4 terms, so we can just do what we did yesterday. We can group the first 2 terms, group the last 2 terms, and look for the GCF. The GCF here will be x, and that will leave me x plus 1. GCF here is 5, x plus 1. Now I can underline what's exactly the same and take that out, and then write down my remainder. And that's going to be it for today. So there's multiply, find what your B can split into, and then do what we did yesterday. So let's look at this term here. So we're going to draw our little x here. We're going to write A, C, and B on the bottom. Okay? So 1 times 1 is 1, and I need it to become -2. Okay? So what are the factors of 1 that will become, when I multiply, will give me 1, that's 1 and 1. But I need them to be -2 when I add them together, so they both need to be negative. -1 plus -1 is -2. -1 times -1 is +1. Okay, so then we're going to write our factors, x squared minus x plus 1, because we're going to divide our b into -x and -x. All right, so we're going to, if you recall, there's always a plus between the parentheses when we separate it. So we're going to put x squared minus x plus -x plus 1. Always a plus. Okay, what will come out of here? X. That leaves me x minus 1. This is a negative, so I'm going to take out a -1. Negative divided by negative is positive x. Positive 1 divided by -1, -1. Underline, underline. So that will be x minus 1. X minus 1 is left over, and I'll mark that out. Now you can write this, because they're both the same, as x minus 1 squared. Okay, so let's look at this one. We're going to draw our x. And we're going to do A times C on the top, and we're going to write our B on the bottom. So 1 times -12 is -12. and then our b is 1. So we're going to ask ourselves, what are the factors of negative 12? Now this one's a little bit bigger, so we may have to come over here and think. Well, 1 times 12 gives me 12. If I add those together, in this case, if I combine those two, will it give me 1? No. 2 and 6? No. 3 and 4. 3 plus 4 will not give me 1. But if I do what? 4 plus negative 3, that's 1. So this would give me negative 3 and 4. Negative 3 times 4 is negative 12. Negative 3 plus 4 is 1. Okay, again, we're going to split our b into negative 3x plus 4x. So our b splits, we bring down the first term, we bring down the last term. And we're going to group and group. So what will come out of this? X. And that leaves me x minus 3. Here is 4, and that leaves me x minus 3. These two should always be the same. If they're not, I did something wrong. And then that leaves me x plus 4. Now I can do a quick check. X times x is x squared. Negative 3 times positive 4 is negative 12. And then 4 minus 3 is positive 1. Okay, let's look down here and let's do a couple more. All right, we're going to draw our x. We're going to have a times c and b. So 1 times 3 is 3. Our b is 4. The factors of 3 are 1 and 3. That's all they are. So 1 times 3 is 3. 1 plus 3 is 4. So I'm going to bring down my first term. I'm going to split the second term here into two things. So it's going to become plus x because of the 1 plus 3x, and then I'm going to bring down my last term. Notice this kind of makes an M. First term, last term, and then the x plus 3x becomes 4x. Okay, I'm going to group. Hopefully this grouping's getting easier. X times x plus 1. What can come out of 3 and 3? Well, I said 3 twice, so a 3. X plus 1. Again, underline what's in parentheses. They should look exactly the same. X plus 1. Mark it out. X plus 3. And cha-ching, I am done. Okay, let's look at one more together, and then I'm going to let you try some on your own. All right, so my a times c is 20. My b is 9. So we're going to list the factors of 20 here. We have 1 and 20. Does that add to give me 9? No. 2 and 10? No. 3 won't go. 4 plus 5, that's 9. 4 times 5 is 20. So that's going to be 4 and 5. All right, so I'm going to bring down my first term. The 4x plus 5x, these two here, replace my b, and then bring down my last term. All right, so we're going to group, and then take out an x, and that's going to be x plus 4. Take out a 5, and that's going to be x plus 4. Underline, underline. We get x plus 4. That's what's in common. And then we get x plus 5 left over. Okay, I'd like for you to stop the video, and I'm going to work this one, and then you can check your work. So, all right, a times c is 6. B is negative 5. The factors of 6 are 1 and 6. That doesn't make 5. 2 and 3. 2 plus 3 is 5, but they both need to be negative. So I have x squared minus 2x. Remember, always a plus in between, and then negative 3x plus 6. I can take out an x. I get x minus 2. And negative 3, I get x minus 2. Underline, underline. X minus 2. X minus 3. Okay. Let's move on and see what we have here. So there's 4 practice problems here. I'm going to put the answers, and then if you're struggling, you can reach out. So by now, you should have 6 here and 7. The factors are 6, 6, 1, 7. So the answer, when you do the work, will be x plus 6 and x plus 1. Okay, here, when we do this, we get negative 18 and negative 7. List the factors of 18. That doesn't make 7. 2 and 9 will make 7 if the 9 is negative. So we have 2 and negative 9. 2 plus negative 9 is negative 7. So the final answer here would be x plus 2 and x minus 9. And remember, these can be written in either order. Okay, here we have negative 6 and negative 5. So that's going to be negative 6 and 1, because if you do the 6, 1 and 6, 1 times 6 is not negative 6, and a negative wouldn't be negative, so they have to be opposite signs. So the 6 has to be negative to get a negative 5 and a negative 6. 2 and 3, if I add, will give me 5, but not negative. If they're both negative, it would be a positive 6, so that won't work either. So my answer after I work it out would be this. Okay. The next one here is 12 and negative 7. So that's going to be negative 4 times negative 3 is 12. Negative 4 plus negative 3 is negative 7. So x minus 4, x minus 3. So today, if you notice, all of the a's were 1. Okay, so that made it kind of quicker and easier. Tomorrow, we'll be doing the same thing, but our a's will not be 1. All right, check your plan book. Let me know if you have questions.